go ahead and get started. So today we're going to learn about online reputation management, as Magali mentioned before. And oops, sorry. Okay, so who am I? My name is Keisha Ward. I'm a digital creative and the owner of Opulence Marketing Group. We are a digital marketing firm that specializes in social media marketing, consulting, and strategy. We're also looking to launch some online courses for small businesses that are interested in learning more about how they can expand their online presence. So stay tuned. We're going to be launching something in the fall. And so today we're going to discuss what is online reputation management, or as I like to call it, it's ORM for short. So we'll be using that annotation. Why does it matter? How is your reputation created? Some goals and strategies to help you plan for your reputation, how to jumpstart your online reputation management, monitoring it, and then we're going to have a conclusion. So I like to kick things off with a quote, and this is one of my favorite ones. It takes many good deeds to build a good reputation and only one bad deed to lose it. And that's by Benjamin Franklin. Okay, so what is online reputation management? The pandemic specifically has kind of pushed businesses right now to focus on how they're showing up online. And so that is specifically with your marketing channels. It's extremely crucial that you're showing up in a way that you want to be viewed, your brand-wise, excuse me. And so reputation management is the practice of crafting strategies that shape or influence the public perception of an organization, individual, or entity on the internet. In summary, it's your brand's digital footprint. It's people's perception of your brand. And you can get this whether it's people researching your brand through Google, any comments that your brand has reached on their post, any hashtags, pretty much any breadcrumb that has your name, a mention, you, or anything that's associated with your brand tied to it. So why is this important? 88% of buyers research products online before making a purchase. And I don't know if you all are like me, I love Amazon. I will go look at 3 products. If there's a product that has 3,000 reviews and they're positive, and one with 5,000 reviews and it's half of that, I'm most likely going to pick the one with less reviews, but more positive reviews. So 93% of searches never venture past the first page of Google. So that's where the reputation management plus SEO comes in. And I don't know about you all, again, if I'm looking for something in particular, I'm not going to look to the second, third, or fourth page of Google. So that's why building that brand reputation and presence is important, because that helps get you onto the first page of Google. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. And so 86% of people will hesitate to purchase if you have negative reviews. And again, that goes back to that Amazon example. I don't know if you all have seen that, but typically, if you don't have 5 stars or 4-star reviews, people will be less likely to engage with your brand. And actually, a fun fact, nearly 50% of US adults who Google themselves, they think that their results aren't positive. So that's something to keep in mind for yourself. All right. And now, why does this matter again? Online research. Customers are likely to purchase from a trusted brand that has a good reputation and reviews. Site rankings. Bad reviews lower your SEO rankings in Google's algorithm. And so I don't know if you all are very familiar with SEO or how much Google changes what they require, but it's been implemented over the last, I'm going to say, year or so, that now they do take ratings into account with how you're showing up on Google. So while you may not have as many backlinks or as another brand, if you're showing up with good reviews, they're more likely to boost your post. Boost your listing. Customer insights. Customer insights, especially when it comes to reviews, can be helpful with feedback, product suggestions, and likes and dislikes. So say you own a retail store and you have this blue top, and you may have seen people that like it or they purchased it, but if you read the comments, you may have found that they had wished that it was a skirt or a dress instead. So that can help you expand on your product offering when it comes to what you have in your store by reading comments from customers. And then perception. And the perception, it's permanent. Reviews, are permanent. You really can't pay to delete them. You can sometimes ask people kindly if they're old, but most reviews are forever. So you really want to step out with your best foot forward and make sure that you're embodying your brand at all times online. All right, so how is your rep created? It's a cycle that I like to call engage, experience, and express. And so essentially this cycle starts where a client has an interaction with you in a digital space, and then they experience your brand, whether it's through purchase, Google, research, and based on what they find, they express that through word of mouth, through sharing a post, whether they tell their friends or family, and that cycle continues each time they shop with you. So in the engage cycle, the customer has their curiosity built. They see something they like or something they want from your brand, and then they choose to interact with your brand. They choose to connect or choose you over another brand. The experience is the crucial step. This is when they interact with your brand, where they purchase something, they use your service. It builds the perception and it sets an expectation of service from that client. It sets how they can continue to rely on your brand and what they're going to value about your brand. And then again, the express is whether they have a good experience or bad experience. They're likely to tell other people and write reviews. And I'm going to use a brief example. I was at Trader Joe's last week, and normally I'm a very big advocate about businesses that treat their employees properly, have very consistent service, and also treat their customers like they matter. And at Trader Joe's, I've never had a bad experience. Because of the pandemic, everyone's changing the processes about how you shop. I was running in to get maybe one or two things, and an associate literally refused to let me go into the store unless I pushed around a basket. I obviously complied, but that kind of left me feeling as if I didn't matter, especially at a time where I should be valued as a human being. And I wanted to go on Yelp and write a review and say how horrible my experience was because I was being forced to get something that I did not want. Now, again, I do like to give positive reviews, but also something that we'll address later is people are likely to write if they have a negative review. So you kind of always want to be maintaining how you're being perceived at all times and also managing people's expectations. So now is the fun part. We're going to have a little exercise. We're going to find out what your online reputation is right now. So if everyone has the worksheet pulled up, I kind of included all the links for you. We're going to go through the worksheet just briefly. And then, you can go more in depth online. That's why I had you make a copy so you can keep this for yourself. So what you're going to do is, again, make a copy of the worksheet, open Google. You can click the link there. It'll open the Google link and type in your business name. And when you type in your business name, we're not going to venture off the first page of Google again, just because that's typically where people look. But I want you to acknowledge where and if your business shows up, how it's showing up. And if you do have time, take a screenshot of that and paste it in that document, or even paste the first few links just so you can kind of analyze what your reputation is. Because SEO and your reputation go hand in hand, whether or not people realize that. And so you want to ask yourself, did you show up on the first page? If you did, were you in the top 5? Where were you? When I Googled my business, I'm still in the process of building my own personal digital presence. And luckily enough, I was in the top 3. But as you'll see once we get into this later, very easy ways to build your SEO is through Google, Yelp, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the like, all of those social media platforms. So that then goes to the next question. If you were on the front page, was it through Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, or another website? So you want to take note of that. And if you did not show up at all, who did show up and how did they show up? That's also a good way to find out how to build your online directory and your online presence. See what your competitor is doing and how you can mimic and or adapt to what it is that they're doing. And so, yeah, you can paste the link in that too. And so touching back on the reputation cycle that we discussed, when it comes to engaging, how are you currently engaging with your customers? And you can see that through your online presence. Do you have reviews? Do you have a Google My Business established? How do you want to engage with your customers? I know, again, the pandemic has caused everyone to make a shift towards more online presence. And so obviously that's where the focus is. But you want to also think about taking this offline, because while we are all still online, we're still connecting person to person. There's still word of mouth happening. So think about how you want to engage. When it comes to experience, how do you want customers to feel while experiencing your brand? Do you want them to feel joy? Do you want them to feel happy? Do you want them to feel compassion? And lastly, express. How are you touching and reaching past customers? Because that is a great source of building your online reputation, is your past customers. Are you still re-engaging with them? Are you still keeping them through this reputation cycle? Or have you just thanked them for their purchase and you're waiting for them to go back and purchase from you or come back and use your service? And so, as I mentioned before, and we'll again get more into the online directories, on the worksheet, if you see the bottom, I have listed the online resources for you. So once this presentation is over, you can just click each of those. Those are the ones that I recommend to kind of start your online reputation. And you can just click them and sign up. I will warn you, Yelp will start calling you because that's just what they do, but you don't have to answer. All right. So does anyone have any questions about this at all? Or anything we've covered so far?
Let me see. There were a few comments in the chat. Let me see if any of those were questions.
All right.
It was specifically about the document. I think people are having issues accessing. So just to clarify again, guys, the document, you actually cannot edit that particular document. You need to make a copy. So at the top of the file. Yeah, if you go to file, it allows you to make a copy. So make a copy of it, then you can edit that copy. Keisha has this one set up specifically so that you can't edit it, because then all of us would be editing the same document. And that would be a nightmare. Tammy, if you want to jump in, and I'm not sure if you were communicating something here to Keisha, or were you just sharing that, your profiles?
I was just,
I actually thought I was supposed to paste it in the chat instead of in the document. Sorry.
No, hey, I love participation, Tammy. I'm not mad at all. And you know what? I'm actually kind of curious to see what you put. Oh, okay. All right. We can check that out towards the end of the presentation. But if were there any more questions?
Yeah, there is a question, and I'm not sure if I'm asking it right, but the question is, what if your Facebook page shows up, not website, in the third place?
So honestly, websites take a while because that is through search engine optimization. So that's through people searching specific keywords, and Google has what's called, they're called robots, but they have to crawl your page. And that takes anywhere from 3 to 9 months. So that's why these little SEO shortcuts, as I call them, which is through social media and these online directories, they help build your brand's relevance. Because once you also add yourself to these directories, you can backlink that Facebook link and all of that to your website. That'll help boost your website's presence. But these are things that SEO and those specifics we're actually going to talk about next week in the rebranding and rebuilding class. I'm going to try to go a little more in depth specifically about how you can market. But again, the reputation management and the SEO are tied together.
Does that answer your question? Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. No, the Facebook showing up is a good thing. That's a good thing. Okay. So what are your next steps after this? You've assessed your business, You've seen where you're ranking, you've seen where people similar to you are ranking, your competitors. So your next steps, you're gonna wanna set goals and implement a strategy for your reputation management. Excuse me. All right. So when it comes to goal setting, you wanna specifically ask yourself these questions. What feelings does your brand evoke? When you're interacting, it's like interacting with people and product wise. And to me, this is your brand attraction. What are people going to see about you that is going to attract them to you? Specifically, again, I told you when I look at brands, I go off of how they treat their employees, how I feel, the consistency of service. So those are things that I feel are altruistic in nature, which is why I tend to like the Target, Starbucks, and companies that really care about not only their customers, but their employees. So what feelings do you want your consumer to feel? The second, how do you want to show up to your audience? That is your brand perception. How do you want people to see your brand? Do you want them to say, this brand is a brand that cares about people, or this brand is a brand that, like Apple, is efficient, although they don't do any real giving back. People know that they have quality product. Where do you want to be in the brand perception scale? The next one is, what do you want to be known for? What is your culture ad? And when I say culture ad, I don't mean like pop culture. I'm speaking to, what does your brand offer that can add value to the greater good? And that's something that's very unique to your brand. So what do you want to be known for? And then specifically, what role will you play in your industry? What is your brand authority? Why should someone pick your brand over another brand? So those are some things you want to think of when goal setting. Next step is strategy implementation. You want to establish and adhere to a consistent level of service. That allows people to pretty much know what they're getting from you. So you, when it comes to reputation management, you kind of know how your reviews are going to go. You're setting and adhering that level of consistent service. Again, I'm going to use another example. Starbucks. I love Starbucks. You can go to a Starbucks in Target, a Starbucks in Maine, a Starbucks in Florida. They're going to have a consistent level of service that they adhere to, that you get used to, and they are known for that. That is their brand authority.
Keisha, it's so funny that you use Starbucks as the example. Anyone who's in here that normally comes to marketing outside the box will tell you right now, Starbucks is my go-to example. Anytime I'm telling them about a company that's doing marketing right on every level, I'm like, listen, just watch Starbucks.
Honestly, Starbucks, I've stood in New York in front of a Starbucks and looked down the street at another Starbucks. Unless you're not managing expectations and providing service and marketing well, I don't know how else that's possible. But I love some Starbucks. So, and again, you want to set and manage customer expectations. Again, to use a converse example, if I were to go to Walmart, I would not be upset that no one is helping me, because every time I've been in Walmart, they've set that expectation that we're here for you to go shop, pick what you want, and check out. There's no one here to help answer your questions. They're not, here for that customer service aspect. So I don't look for that. So you need to decide where in your brand that is. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. You just want to set and manage a consistent expectation across the board. Again, that helps you reduce the likelihood of you getting a bad review. And then more importantly, you want to develop a response plan. You want to make sure, like you have your content planned out, you have days planned out where you're responding to comments, you're going through your hashtags, you're seeing where people have mentioned you, and you want to make sure you're responding to them. You want to keep engaging people because you want to keep them, again, going through that reputation life cycle. You want them to be engaged with your brand. You want them to experience and purchase from you again. And you want them to tell more people. So you want to make sure that you have that plan to keep connecting with your customers.
I love these strategies. I really hope that people are taking notes. You have another question, Keisha?
Yes.
Do you think consumer expectations vary in different industries?
Absolutely. Different industries and different brands in different industries. And again, since we discussed Starbucks, same industry, coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, two different brands, two different expectations. To me, Dunkin' Donuts has made their brand quick coffee, good price, good taste. But let's also keep in mind, Dunkin' Donuts was a donut shop until they realized they were more profitable from coffee. Starbucks, they want you to come set up your business. And now they've made it almost like a co-working space. So they want you to come and engage with their brand. They want you to sit there, experience all that is Starbucks. But
right,
it's
you're
definitely
paying for the
different.
experience. Yep.
Yes. And again, it's definitely different across industries, because then when you look at, let me think of a good example. Who wants you to experience their brand? I know I mentioned, I guess what is a more specific question? Like, do they have an industry in mind, or was that just a general question?
I think that's a general question. And I think you may have answered it, to be honest. Okay. You do have another, and if she didn't answer it, Tracy, let me know. You have another question though, Keisha, from Tammy. And she wants to know, how do you check numbers?
Check numbers for?
Tammy, you might need to jump in because
I think she meant hashtags.
Oh, hashtags.
Oh.
I feel like such not a millennial right now.
Oh, wow, Magali.
How do you check hashtags?
How do you check hashtags? I'm not sure what platform you use. I'm personally am an Instagram girl. And so I don't know if you know this, but on Instagram, instead of just following people, you can follow hashtags. So a lot of the things that pop up in my feed are hashtags. And when you follow that, anyone that posts to that hashtag, you can see what they've posted. And so that's kind of what I mean by check hashtags.
Yeah. And if I can add something to that, Tammy, because once again, I'm not sure what platform you're on, but you can just search hashtags. So like, for example, back to the Instagram example, there are a lot of hashtags I don't follow. I'm just very particular about what pops up on my timeline. So I don't follow things, but I'm still curious about certain things. So I would search the hashtag. So you'll go to the search function on Instagram, and there's an option to search tags. It says tags, and you just go to that option instead of people or whatever else the other options are, but you specifically want to search the tag on Instagram, you will do it that way. And on Twitter, Twitter is the hashtag queen. So,
yes.
If you go to Twitter, it's very simple to search a hashtag. And going back to Google, normally Google are pulling hashtags from Twitter first. So, yeah.
Yes. So there's ways. And that's also, again, we'll discuss this a little more next week, but that's also kind of a good way for you to see how other brands are showing up, how you want to show up, and even give you some ideas of, as you're posting your social content, what hashtags you find relevant, what hashtags you might have been using that aren't relevant, because you might have been using a hashtag and come to find out it means something completely different. So that's also why you might want to check that, just to make sure. Okay, so now that we've discussed the goal planning and the strategies, let's jumpstart your online reputation management. So if you're developing your online reputation, some easy, quick things you can do, you can establish your reputation using online directories. And again, that's going to be your Yelp, your Trustpilot, Facebook. You want to use in LinkedIn. Pretty much any social media site is a very, really quick and easy way to kind of start your SEO and start building your online presence. You want to go back to your posts and reply to comments on social media. We have time now. Everyone's pretty much more glued to their phones and their computers than they were before. So they're looking to engage and interact with brands. And I don't know if you all have noticed, I think it was mentioned last week, I'm not seeing a lot of ads or interactions from these big Fortune 500 companies. I haven't really seen much from Nike, Coke, any of them. So now's your time to shine and engage with those other customers to show them that you might have a product that's a viable option for them or a complement to something that they might have. The only way you do that is, again, get them looped into that cycle, get them to engage with your brand. You want to develop, again, a customer response strategy. You want to come up with that calendar, decide how you're going to respond, how frequently you're going to respond. And then another cool thing that you can do is take it back to when you were at the mall in the food court and you would walk by, someone had that tray with a little chicken on it, and they would offer you a sample. Research who you think your client might be, or look into your close, intimate circle. See if you have anyone that you could send like maybe a little sample to in exchange for a review. And that'll kind of help you build your presence. And so for those of you that have Googled yourself and you do find that you have a somewhat of a presence, you want to go ahead and reply to any reviews that you have or any comments. So if you do have, whether it's 2 to 3 Google reviews, you want to go in and reply, whether it's a thank you so much, or it's a, you know, we really appreciate connecting with your brand. You always want to keep it lighthearted and nice. If you happen to have a negative review, I mean, there you always want to go in again with empathy, specifically with where we're going right now. And in this time, people really just want to engage with brands that understand what they're going through. And I mean, because we're all going through it, right? Business owners, non-business owners, we're all going through it. So they want to know that you care. So I think actually I was on Trustpilot the other day and I was reading a review from Honey Pot, because that's a whole other scandal thing that happened with reputation management and why that's important. But I was reading a review and this customer was really upset that she had ordered something and I think it came about 4 weeks late. And so they did a really good job of, you know, understanding what that client was going through, saying, you know, we're really sorry. And the person also was understood that the pandemic is happening, so things are a little slowed down. But they did a really good job of humbling themselves, being empathetic, putting the customer first. And what happened was she actually went and updated it once she got her package. So that's why you always, again, want to be empathetic and connect to the customer, because that helps build your online presence. And you never know if someone can have a change of heart. More importantly, again, you want to ask for reviews from past customers. Are you touching people once you've given them that service? You want to make sure you keep them engaged in the reputation cycle. Collect testimonials to add to your website. So even if you ask for reviews, you don't have to ask for them in Google specifically, but if you have a couple of close customers that you work with, ask them just to write down, you know, a couple things as to why they use your service, why they like it, why they keep coming back. And again, if you want to add on a little discount on top as an incentive, who's going to turn that down? But you really want to reach back out to who you've already engaged with. And then you want to, again, read the comments you have to assess your brand. Maybe you're selling something that customers don't like, or maybe you're selling something and it's consistently getting a review that it's too small, too big, you know, it's not as expected. You want to read that. That way you can assess your inventory and or whatever services you're offering. And so again, these are some of the popular directories. Google My Business, that's probably the #1 thing that shows up in SEO. That is if you get off of this, I encourage you all, if you don't have that already, you really need to create a Google My Business, because that is literally going to put you at the top on the first page of Google. Your Facebook page, again, Google and Facebook, those are the top 2 that you'll show up in. A lot of people don't realize this, but Yelp is not just for restaurants. I think that that's where it originated, but if you have a business, your business needs to be on Yelp. LinkedIn, again, put your business on LinkedIn. That's another form of social that Google really likes to index. And then Trustpilot. Trustpilot allows you to add reviews and get reviews from customers. That is, again, out of these are the top 5 that are most likely to put you on the first page of Google. So I encourage you all to set up your profile. And again, if you're able to access and you've copied over the worksheet, I've put a link to all of these directories in the bottom to make it easy for you. Okay, so monitoring your online reputation. How can you stay on top of your reputation? With all the platforms and all the reviews, it can get a little messy trying to figure out, how do I go here and how often? So the easy way is to take some time out, Google yourself. When you Google your business, it's likely to see where you'll see where you're showing up and where you're being found. Because maybe you don't have a Twitter presence, but people are mentioning you on Twitter. The only way you'll see that is if you Google yourself. Social media, again, check the comments, the hashtags, the mentions through a variety of sites. One of my favorites is set up a Google alert for your business. And I don't know if you're familiar with Google alerts, but essentially anytime someone mentions a keyword that you type in, like I would type in Opulence Marketing Group. Anytime an article, social media, something posts about Opulence Marketing Group, it's going to send me an alert. That way I can go check my email and I can see what's being said about my brand. And that helps you stay on top of managing what is being said in the conversations that are being had around your brand. And if all of that's too much, because again, everyone's an entrepreneur, you don't have time to do everything, you can use a service. And some of the services are Awario, Go Fish Digital, which I believe is a free service. And I know Magali preaches this a lot, Hootsuite. Hootsuite does have a capability where it can alert you to where you can see what's being said throughout all your platforms and all the mentions. It kind of puts them all in one area so you can monitor that. All right. So, in conclusion, establishing your reputation right now is crucial to the growth and success of your business, especially during the pandemic. As the digital age progresses, you want to be on top. You want to make sure that people are not only recognizing your brand from a global perspective, but local. The pandemic has caused people to think more locally and look for resources that are right in their own backyard and right in front of them. And you want to make sure that your brand is on the forefront of that. You want to be able to, again, reach people, put your best foot forward, keep your best foot forward. And as always, which we'll get into next week, you want to make sure you're connecting with your clients, but not only connecting with them, getting the right information so you can continuously touch them. And that would be through building an email list. And like I said, we'll go through that next week. And so, yeah, this is my information. Please feel free to follow me on Facebook under either of those pages. If you have any questions after the fact, this is my email address, and I can be reached on Instagram. And so I'm going to open it up for some questions if anyone has questions or comments, concerns.
Man, that was great. That was excellent. I keep putting it in the chat, but y'all, these are great strategies that you really want to take advantage of, especially during this time. Keisha said it already, but most of us have nothing to do at home. And we're at home for 24 hours at a time. So it's really nothing to ask a customer of yours to write that review for you or that testimonial. Like, they'll probably be elated to have something to do other than look at their screen or watch TV. I do have a question, Keisha. So I have several businesses, as many of you know. One of my businesses right now, I'm dealing with one of the things that you discussed where someone did leave a negative review. Unfortunately for me, the negative review had nothing to do with me actually, or actually my business. It's something that I found out a little later. I guess one of the funders of the business has a personal issue with this person. It's a personal thing. It's not even a business thing, but they connect that particular individual with my company, and they've left a negative review. And I mean, I've reached out to Facebook to try to explain that. I've tried to explain it to the person who left the review. And I mean, it's there. And unfortunately, it was the first review. And everything that you said today, I'm probably going to go ahead and apply to my business. It was the first review on my Facebook page. So it leaves me at a score of like 1 or something like that. When people come and see what type of business I have, the first thing that they're probably seeing is that it's a bad business and has absolutely nothing to do with my actual business. So, I mean, would you just, and I guess I just answered my own question, but would you just recommend that I put all of that stuff into effect immediately to try to combat that? But I don't want to look like crazy desperate at the same time, you know, and it's a new business. So I only have but so many people to reach out to.
If I could say one thing, y'all, about reputation management, you want to be thirsty, okay? You need to get as many people to review and like your business as possible. The more, again, it goes back to Amazon. When you're shopping and you see a new product and it has 5 reviews, but you see the same thing at a higher price for 3,000 with 3,000 reviews, I'm going to pay the $10 more. Now I'm going to go with the one that's been trusted. So specifically to your case, I'm not sure what you said when you reached out to Facebook, but Facebook is also very particular about wording things. I would reach out to them and let them know that this review had nothing to do with an actual interaction with your brand. Because people can't just go and say, I don't like Magali, so thumbs down. They have to have an actual interaction with your brand and have a negative experience. And I would present that to Facebook, that this person has a personal relationship with this person. However, they never interacted with this brand, whether it was a purchase or a service. So this is not a valid review.
That's good. I need to rephrase my complaint.
But yes, rephrase that. And they should take it down. If not, the other strategy that you could use, flood it with good reviews.
Yeah.
It with good reviews. I would try to do both though. First, I would keep reaching out to Facebook, but I mean, you can implement both at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you. Maurice, did you have a question? I'm not sure if he had a question. He unmuted himself.
No, I'm bad.
Okay. Thank you so much, Keisha. Are there any other questions for Keisha? Feel free to unmute yourself. You don't have to put in the chat. Oh, wait, there is a question. I don't think she can talk at work. Can you shed any light on using Google Alerts on researching competitors? I've read where this can be done as well.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you can set an alert for anything. If you have a specific competitor you want to monitor, you just set up a Google alert for their name, or you can set up Google alerts for phrases. I know specifically with me, when it comes to marketing, I have certain topics that whenever it comes up in Google, I'll get an alert about it. That way I can stay on top of it and kind of check it out and read it. But yeah, you can set it up for any name, any person. You can even get specific to, if it's like Nike Jordan shoes, you can put that in there if that's your competitor. But yeah, you can get strategic with that.
I think she said thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, we have a few more minutes here. If you have any final questions or final thoughts, anyone? If not, and if Keisha, I don't know, I'm not sure if you have any closing message, but if not, I definitely want to thank you. I'm excited about putting some of these to work, and hopefully all of you all are.